This episode is for general informational and educational purposes only and does not provide medical or legal advice. In a research lab attached to an American hospital, an engineer who grew up on the other side of the world is training a system to see what tired human eyes can miss. The shadow on a scan that means a cancer caught early instead of late. The work could save thousands of lives, and the person doing it is here on a temporary visa, doing extraordinary work with no certainty that the country will let them stay to finish it. We are breaking down everything you need to know. Check the timestamps on your screen to jump straight to the segment that impacts you more. If you are a scientist, an engineer, or a researcher who came to America to do work that matters, this episode is about you, because beneath the headline about artificial intelligence in medicine is a quieter story. The immigrant talent these breakthroughs depend on, the immigration walls that threaten to send that talent home, and the green card pathway that the most exceptional of them keep overlooking. Stay with us, because by the end, you will understand the breakthrough reshaping diagnosis, the people behind it, and the specific strategy that can let researchers in this exact position build their future here. Here is how it starts. Every year, millions of medical scans are taken in the United States. CT images, MRIs, pathology slides, X-rays, and for most of the history of medicine, a trained human read every one of them. Radiologists working long hours under enormous pressure. One missed shadow, one overlooked detail, one scan among thousands on a given shift. The consequences of error in diagnostic imaging are not abstract. They are a cancer missed at stage 1 that becomes stage 4. They are a cardiac abnormality that goes undetected until it becomes an emergency. They are a family that never gets the call that would have changed everything. Artificial intelligence is changing what is possible in diagnostic medicine. Multimodal AI models, systems that can process imaging data alongside clinical notes, lab results, and patient history simultaneously, are demonstrating the kind of diagnostic precision that was not practically achievable even 5 years ago. A 2026 Frontiers in Medicine review confirmed that multimodal AI approaches consistently outperform single-modality models across major clinical diagnostic tasks, including cancer detection, cardiac assessment, and pathology classification. By late 2025, the FDA had approved more than 880 AI and machine learning-enabled medical devices. The pace of that approval curve has accelerated every year since 2020. What is being built in AI diagnostic medicine right now is not incremental. It is structural. The question of whether AI will transform how disease is detected in the United States is no longer being debated. The question is, who builds the systems that do it well, and whether those engineers can stay in the country long enough to finish the work. That is where immigration enters the room.
The immigrant visionary. Her name is Fei-Fei Li. Born in Chengdu, China in 1976, she immigrated to the United States as a teenager when her family moved to Parsippany, New Jersey. Her parents ran a dry cleaning business. She worked the counter and did the books while studying at high school. She won a full scholarship to Princeton. She earned her PhD from Caltech. And then she dedicated her career to a problem that almost nobody else thought was central to the future of artificial intelligence. She wanted to teach computers to see. At Stanford, Li led the creation of ImageNet, a database of more than 14 million labeled images that became the training ground for the modern era of computer vision. When the ImageNet large-scale visual recognition challenge launched in 2010, it triggered a decade of breakthroughs in how AI systems learn to interpret visual information. The deep learning revolution, the foundation of every image recognition system, every medical imaging AI, every autonomous vehicle vision stack operating today, traces directly back to that dataset and that challenge. Without ImageNet, the trajectory of computer vision changes. Without computer vision, multimodal AI in medicine does not exist in its current form. Fei-Fei Li went from working a dry cleaning counter in New Jersey to becoming the chief scientist of AI and machine learning at Google Cloud. She is now a professor at Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute, which she co-founded. She has spoken consistently about the responsibility that comes with building systems that affect millions of lives, about the need for AI that serves humanity rather than simply optimizing metrics. Diversity of thinking and diversity of life experiences, she has said, are necessary ingredients for building AI that works for everyone. She came to the United States as a teenager. She changed what computers can do with their eyes, and the medical imaging systems being built by engineers in American labs right now stand on the foundation she laid.
The immigration strategy. Consider a representative case. Call him Min Jun-oh, a composite drawn from the kind of profile we see often. A systems engineer in his early 30s, originally from South Korea. He completed his PhD at KAIST, the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, with a focus on multimodal learning systems for clinical applications. His doctoral research produced 3 peer-reviewed publications in medical AI journals, 2 of which were cited within 12 months of publication by independent research groups at U.S. university hospitals. When he arrived in the United States to join a medical AI startup in Boston, he came on an H-1B visa. The company was exceptional. The work was genuinely important. His team was developing multimodal diagnostic systems for radiology and oncology workflows, specifically systems that could integrate imaging data with structured and unstructured clinical records to produce diagnostic recommendations at a level of precision radiologists had not previously had computational support for. His name appeared as lead author or co-author on published work being cited by other researchers. He had presented at major conferences. He had been invited to serve as a peer reviewer for one of the leading journals in his field. And then the 2026 H-1B lottery cycle came. He had gotten through before. This time, the weighted lottery's restructuring created a different risk profile for his employer. The petition did not move forward. His status was in question. His employer wanted to keep him. That was not the issue. The issue was that the H-1B's annual lottery structure means even strong, well-documented candidates can be denied a chance to file purely due to random selection, a structural feature of the category, not a reflection of Min Jun's qualifications. He started researching alternatives. He read everything he could find on the O-1A. He reached out to an immigration attorney who specializes in extraordinary ability petitions. As attorney Chris M. Ingram explains, when Min Jun first came to us, his profile was stronger than he realized. He was thinking about what he did not have. We looked at what he did have. Published work with independent citations, peer reviewer credentials, conference presentations at internationally recognized gatherings, a clear record of contribution to a field with direct public health implications. That kind of record put him in a strong position to pursue O-1A classification. The question was how to present the evidence, so the petition landed the way it deserved to. What is the O-1, and why is it different from everything else? The O-1A visa is a non-immigrant category for individuals with extraordinary ability in the sciences, education, business, or athletics. It is not the H-1B. No annual cap, no lottery, no rigid specialty occupation requirement, no dependency on a single employer's willingness to sponsor. And for properly prepared petitions, USCIS data for fiscal year 2025 shows a 93.9% approval rate, among the highest of any employment-based category across the entire immigration system. By contrast, EB-1A approval rates fell to approximately 66.6% in the third quarter of fiscal year 2025, and EB-2NIW rates dropped to 54%. The O-1A's consistency held at or near 94% throughout the year. It also moves fast. Premium processing, available for an additional government fee, guarantees a decision within 15 business days. For a researcher or engineer whose status is at risk, that speed is not a convenience. It is a lifeline. Outcomes still depend on the strength of each individual's record, and not every applicant qualifies. But for those who do, that speed matters. The initial grant is up to 3 years, with unlimited 1-year extensions available for as long as you continue working in your area of extraordinary ability. To qualify, an applicant must show either a single major internationally recognized achievement a Nobel Prize, an Olympic medal, that tier, or, more commonly, evidence meeting at least 3 of the following 8 regulatory criteria: nationally or internationally recognized prizes or awards for excellence, membership in associations that require outstanding achievement of their members, published material in professional or major trade publications or other major media about you and your work, participation, individually or on a panel, as a judge of the work of others in your field, original scientific, scholarly, or business-related contributions of major significance in your field, authorship of scholarly articles in professional journals or other major media, employment in a critical or essential capacity for organizations and establishments with a distinguished reputation, and evidence that you have commanded or will command a high salary or other significantly high remuneration relative to others in your field. Most strong AI researchers and STEM professionals in the United States have more of these than they realize. The publications exist. The peer reviewer invitations exist. The conference presentations exist. The institutional affiliations exist. What often does not exist is the strategic presentation that turns that record into an approved petition. Attorney Chris M. Ingram makes this point directly to every prospective client. The O-1A standard says extraordinary ability. Most people hear that and think it means someone who has won a Nobel Prize. That is not what the regulation requires. It requires sustained national or international acclaim and a record that demonstrates you have risen to the top of your field. In AI and medical technology right now, a researcher with strong publications, peer recognition, and documented contribution to a field with national significance can be a competitive O-1A candidate. The bar is real. It is not mythical, but it has to be documented and presented correctly. Not every strong record automatically translates into an approved petition. The O-1A as a bridge to permanent residence. One of the most important strategic realities about the O-1A is what it makes possible next. The O-1A is a non-immigrant visa. It is not a green card, but it creates the stability and the documented record-building time that a green card petition requires. While a researcher or engineer is working under O-1A status, they are continuing to publish, present, accumulate citations, take on peer reviewer roles, and build the kind of sustained record that EB-1A, extraordinary ability petitions, are built from. For many STEM professionals, the O-1A is not the final destination. It is the bridge. It buys the time, the stability, and the continued contribution record that converts a good EB-1A case into an outstanding one. This matters especially for professionals from countries with significant employment-based backlogs. EB-1A is not subject to the kind of multi-decade backlog that affects EB-2 and EB-3 for Indian nationals. Although as an employment-based category, it can still experience periods of unavailability under the per-country visa allocation rules, historically far shorter than what EB-2 and EB-3 applicants from India face. For an Indian AI researcher whose work meets the extraordinary ability standard, the O-1A to EB-1A pathway is strategically one of the more attractive routes to permanent residence available. Attorney Chris M. Ingram puts it plainly. We tell clients all the time, the O-1A is not a compromise. For the right profile, it is the smarter strategic move. It removes the lottery risk immediately. It gives you stability. And if you use that time well, it can help build the case that gets you to EB-1A on the strongest possible foundation. What happened with Min Jun? The O-1A petition was built around 6 of the 8 regulatory criteria. Published scholarly work in peer-reviewed medical AI journals, peer reviewer credentials with documented invitations from journal editors, conference presentations at MICCAI and IEEEMBC, both internationally recognized gatherings in the biomedical engineering and medical imaging fields, an expert letter from a physician scientist at a Harvard-affiliated hospital who had independently cited Min Jun's published protocols, a salary analysis confirming his compensation placed him in the top tier of similarly situated researchers, and documentation of his role on a project that had received institutional recognition as critical to the company's core clinical AI pipeline. The petition was filed with premium processing, Approval came on a Thursday, 14 business days after filing. Min Jun did not have to leave the country. His work continued without interruption. His wife and 2 children, who had been on O-3 dependent status, remained stable. He is currently building his O-1A petition record with the same deliberateness he brought to his research. Every publication, every citation, every invitation to review or present, each one cataloged. A listener shared this on Google. The entire team at the law offices of Chris M. Ingram is professional, well-informed, and exceptionally supportive. I highly recommend Chris Ingram's firm. The action plan. Step 1. Do an honest audit of your record. Sit down with a piece of paper and map what you actually have against the 8 O-1A criteria: awards, association membership, published material about your work, judging others' work, original contributions of major significance, authorship of scholarly articles, critical/essential employment at a distinguished organization, and high relative salary. You will need at least 3 of these to qualify, and many researchers find they have more than they expected. Step 2. Do not confuse extraordinary with famous. The O-1A does not require household name recognition. It requires documented evidence that your peers in your field recognize your contribution as significant. That is a different standard and a more achievable one than most researchers realize. It is still a real evidentiary standard that has to be met and properly documented. Step 3. Start building strategically now, even if you are not yet ready to file. Accept peer reviewer invitations, present at conferences, document the role you play at your organization. Make sure your published work is properly cited and that your citations are trackable. Every piece of evidence you accumulate strengthens the petition you will file. Step 4. Understand the O-1A to E-B-1A pathway. If you are working toward permanent residence, and you should be, the O-1A is not a detour. For many profiles, it can be one of the faster, more stable routes toward building an EB-1A petition that stands on its own merits. Step 5. Speak to an attorney before the crisis arrives. The engineers who come to the law offices of Chris M. Ingram in the worst positions are the ones who waited until their status was already in jeopardy. The O-1A is a planning tool, not just an emergency option. File it from strength, not from panic. Fei-Fei Li crossed the Pacific as a teenager and worked a dry cleaning counter while building the academic record that would take her to Princeton, to Caltech, and eventually to the lab, where she built the dataset that changed how machines learn to see. The AI systems now being trained to detect cancer earlier, to read cardiac images with greater precision, to support clinical decisions at a scale no human workforce alone can match. They trace a direct line back to an immigrant researcher who refused to let her circumstances define her ceiling. The engineers continuing that work inside American labs and medical AI companies right now are doing something genuinely important. The systems they build will affect the quality and accuracy of care that millions of Americans receive. They didn't choose where they were born. They chose to do the work, and the law already has a category built for exactly what they've accomplished. Most of them just don't know it yet. If you're a researcher, an engineer, a scientist watching this and wondering whether your H-1B is the only road you have left, it almost certainly isn't. Pull up your CV tonight. Count your publications. Count your citations. Count every conference, every review invitation, every role where someone trusted your judgment because of what you'd already proven. You may be closer to qualifying than you think. The only way to know is to ask someone who reviews records like yours for a living. As attorney Chris M. Ingram says, most people come to us already qualified. They just don't know how to show it. That's the conversation worth having before your status becomes the emergency, not after. Visit breakthroughusa.com to schedule a free consultation.